Hello, I am Father Balmex Pereira, Assistant Professor of Botany at St. Joseph Vaz College, Korthali. And today we are dealing with this module for Bachelor of Science third year students of Botany under the course title of Plant Ecology and Phytogeography. So under Phytogeography title, we will be dealing today with the module on Principles of Phytogeography. So we are going to see the definition of phytogeography, divisions in phytogeography, and the principles, that is today's module, the principles of phytogeography. So as we do this, we define the term phytogeography, we elaborate the divisions of phytogeography, which are two, and we will go through the different principles of phytogeography. So we define phytogeography, or in other words, it is plant geography. It deals with the geographical distribution of plants on earth. Very simple. Just the geographical distribution of plants on the earth. It is also defined by the ecologist Good, 1964, as that branch of botany that deals with the spatial relationships of plants both in the present and the past. Spatial means in a place. So, what are the relationships of these plants? In order to understand this, we have plant systematics in which the plants are grouped into taxa, from which we get taxonomy. In ecology, these plants are grouped into communities. So, we understand the relationships of the plants with other plants and the animals and other factors. In phytogeography, they are grouped into something called as phytochoria. Now let's see what is this phytochoria and what are the divisions. So phytochoria basically is a natural and floristic area. Okay, areas that broadly correspond to the climatic types. That means in the entire world, on this entire earth, we have different climatic types in different zones. So based on that, the natural floristic areas are formed, and these are called or referred to as phytochoria. And they are based on the total number of species with the same concentric distribution pattern. Means different phytochoria will have the same type of distribution with different species of plants. And so a phytochorion, that is a singular phytochorion, is a geographic area with a relatively uniform composition of plant species. Okay, it is important. Uniform composition of plant species. A phytochorion has another adjacent phytochorion or many phytochoria which do not have a sharp boundary that can be distinguished. Where it ends and where it begins, we cannot make it. Rather, it is a type of a soft boundary, or we can call it as a transitional area in which many species from both the regions overlap. So this region that we are talking about is a large entire region. So that will correspond to the climatic types as we have seen. So the region of overlap is called as vegetation tension zone. So there are different type of species in a same area which are mixed. So type of a tension. So vegetation tension zone. So which are the major divisions of phytogeography? We have two major divisions. The first division is it is descriptive or static phytogeography. And what it means? It deals with the actual description of the floristic or vegetational groups that are found in certain parts of the world or different parts of the world, depending on the climatic zones once again. So the early plant geographers, what they did was they described the floras and they attempted to divide earth into floristic or botanical zones. And that is why we have different floral zones on this earth. So that is done under descriptive phytogeography. It is described, it is static. The second division is interpretive, or it is dynamic phytogeography. Now dynamic phytogeography deals with the dynamics. The term itself says dynamics of migration and evolution of plants and floras. So it explains why certain type of plants are present in certain part of the world, why there is very distribution of species in different types of the world, why the plants are found in this particular place and how they reach to another place. So it is a borderline science, we can say, where it involves a lot of synthesis and integration of data and integration of concepts from several specialized disciplines like ecology, physiology, genetics, taxonomy, evolution, paleontology, and geology. Paleontology, we know, deals with the fossil fuels. So these different disciplines are taken together and the data is integrated and synthesized to understand the reasons of this varied distribution of plant species in the different parts of the world. So some of the important ecologists of phytogeography that we have, there are more, but these are just few. The first structural approach of having phytogeography as a separate subject was made by Humboldt way back in 1817. And he is normally called as the father of phytogeography, Humboldt. He studied the relationship between the plants and the environment, both latitudinally and altitudinally. Means different latitudes and different altitudes have different plants, and the plants have different type of a relationship with its environment. Important contribution is also made by Sir J.D. Hooker, who studied plants from different parts of the world. And we have these ecologists like Good, Mason, Kane, and some others who specially pointed out the factors that are involved in the distribution of plants. Because the plant distribution that is happening throughout the globe, it is because of some factors. So they pointed out that there are factors, different factors, because of which this distribution is happening in a different way. And finally, we have Lawrence in 1951 who suggested the following 13 modern principles of phytogeography. So we have 13 modern principles of phytogeography, and these principles which we are studying in this module are classified into 4 groups. So let us see which are the 4 groups of principles of phytogeography. So we will just go through this. The first group is principles concerning environment. And under the principles concerning environment, we have 6 principles. The first one, we will read through it. The distribution of plant is primarily controlled by climatic conditions. We have been saying this from the beginning. Climatic conditions control this distribution. There has been variation in climate during geological history in the past, which affected migration of plants. Okay, especially we say survival of the fittest and other variations in the climate. And due to this variation in the climate, the plants even traveled, migrated, either by seed dispersal or by getting floated in the water or different way. But there is a migration of plant because of the various climatic factors. So thirdly, the relations between land masses and seas have varied in the past. The large land mass split, the split that forms new land masses, and the continents, or the continents which are separated or reoriented. We have a special theory in this continental drift and other theories that we'll be learning in the other modules. So when the new land masses were formed or the continents were formed, there is migration of these plants, which are normally done by the animals, you can say, the dispersal of seeds, due to the land bridges between the continents. So initially, when the land masses were getting separated, there were land bridges between the continents, and they acted as probable routes for migration of plants and animal species. So the land bridges became submerged in the sea as the time went by. And the possibility of migration of plants and animals from one continent to another disappeared. So then onwards, you will find certain types of plants only in certain continents, or certain species of animals in certain continent. They cannot pass over because there are no land bridges. So fourth principle is soil conditions on plains and mountains of different land masses show secondary control of distribution of vegetation. So once again, from climatic factors, now we are coming to soil factors. Accordingly, we will have the halophytes, samophytes, calcicols or calciphobs, and other groups of vegetation. So they have developed because of these soil conditions or the edaphic conditions. So they can adapt to different soil conditions. So fifth principle is biotic factors also play important role in distribution and establishment of plant species. As we have said, on the land bridges, there were these biotic factors of animal species who must have helped in dispersal of seeds or dispersal of the plant itself. The sixth one is the environment is, we call it as holocentric. That is, all environmental factors have combined effects on the vegetation of the place. So it is not just climatic factor or the edaphic factor, but all the factors together have some type of effect on the vegetation. So environment is holocentric. So in the second category, second group, principles concerning plant responses to different factors. So the seventh principle that we have, range of distribution of plants is limited by their tolerances. Important, very important. The tolerances are important for distribution of plants. So each plant species has a range of climatic and edaphic conditions. Therefore, the tolerance of a large taxon, that is group of plants, in plant systematics we call it as taxa. So these taxa is the sum of tolerances of its constituent species. So there are different plant species and they have different level of tolerance. Okay. So eighth principle is tolerances have a genetic basis as well. The response of plants to the environment is governed by their genetic makeup. So lot will depend on the gene setup of the particular species. So many of the crops through breeding and genetic changes have been made to grow in wider range of environmental conditions. We see this in modern sciences, modern agricultural sciences. Genetic science is being used to make certain species tolerable to others, all the factors that are there. So in nature, hybrid plants have been found to have wider range of tolerances than their parents. So ninth principle is different ontogenic phases have different tolerances. So once again, it is about tolerance. So different development stages of plants show different degree of tolerances. For example, the seeds and the mature plants are more tolerant to temperature and moisture variations than their seedlings. Naturally, we know this. The third category of principles is principles concerning the migration of floras and climaxes. So we have two principles under this, that is large scale of migrations have taken place. The fossils and paleoecological evidences reveal that large scale migrations of plants and animals have taken place during Mesozoic era and the tertiary periods. Okay, this we see in the paleontology. The 11th principle, the migration resulted from the transport and establishment. In the process of the migration, plants are dispersed to new habitats through their propagules such as spores, seeds, bulbils and other propagules, and there they are established if environmental conditions are favorable. When they are dispersed to new habitats, if the environmental conditions are not favorable, then they will not survive, they will die. So plants grow and produce there and progeny perpetuates through ecological adjustment. So the adjustments keep happening as the plant grows. And the last set of principles is principles concerning the perpetuation and evolution of floras and climaxes. We have once again two principles. Perpetuation depends first upon migration and secondly upon the ability of the species to transmit the favorable variations of the to the progenies. Okay, so in the previous principle also we have seen this. So migration and adaptation, these two factors are important. So lastly we have the evolution of floras and climaxes, which depend upon the migration, evolution of species and environmental selections. So accordingly we will have different kingdoms. So these different scientists or ecologists have shown or noted different floristic kingdoms. So in this diagram you can see different type of kingdoms that are there. And here are references once again. So my dear friends, in phytogeography we will be studying about the distribution of plants throughout the world. Thank you.